Welcome back to TDH. We are talking types of Devy leagues tonight, and this isn't something we have necessarily gone into great depth, and it's something I think needs to be brought up because as we're in the fantasy football space, IDP, Devy, some of these little niche types of fantasy leagues, people tend to get a little nervous of. And I thought, recently I took over an orphan team, and I thought this would be a great way to help people say, hey, it's okay to do Devy. It's okay to do IDP and these different types of leagues because it makes fantasy fun. So with that being said, tonight we're just going to be talking all sorts of stuff around those different types of leagues, how you can manage leagues, how you can run them through an MFL or a spreadsheet or whatever. And we'll just kind of see what happens. But first and foremost, thank you guys as always for hanging out with us, liking, subscribing, doing all the things you do, whether it's writing reviews and all that on the podcast platforms. We do appreciate all that. I am joined by always my brother in Devy Fun, Des. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm really, really happy to be here. As always. Thank you, everybody that's listening tonight. Again, I always have a good time talking Devy. Just because I just really get excited about any kind of Devy leagues and formats. And when you gave the idea of what you wanted to talk about tonight, man, I was so on board with this. So let's go.
And I also want to point out for those that may or may not have been over, although I do see we have had quite a few, jump over to rotoheat.com. You can see Desi posted his latest Devy article, which I knew was going to tongue twist me. You can also join our Discord, but also he posted his most recent article, which we already got some hits on. So we do appreciate folks jumping over there. But jump over to rotoheat.com and you can see who's up next in Devy. So that's a good thing. Yeah. You want to know who's next, and we're helping you out. Doesn't take care of you.
Yeah.
We got rankings and all that takes care of you as well.
Really excited about that little series that I'm doing. I mean, I'm new to the content and writing and stuff like that. Just like I was saying last week on the show, this is very therapeutic for me. It's a lot of the things I take a lot of time in studying and reading up on these guys, and I follow a good amount of people on Twitter and on the Discords and things like that, and I just decided just to start writing those things down on paper and maybe helping the next person out that was like me a year or two ago that didn't know anything about these formats. So I do appreciate just the opportunity here with the Roto Heat team, man. This has been fun.
Well, and it is helpful to write it out, but you do a good job getting that together and putting out the types of players people need to be on the lookout for, because that is, in a nutshell, Devy is deeper than anything that anyone's going to do in fantasy football. So it takes that extra level of commitment, and not everybody that does this type of stuff can have that level of commitment. So coming to Shane and the guys that do all sorts of other Devy content at Draft Countdown and many other places, you get the opportunity to just read everybody else's information, and then you can then begin to think about how you want to handle it, and that's, for me, that's always been the way that I picked up fantasy in general is, I start looking at people around, and then I start to build my own ideas and build my own boards. I mean, and that's why we do, our rankings and all that other stuff. And it looks a little different for each of us. So, it's always important to be able to do that. And I do appreciate that folks take a look at it and that you do it, because I mean, you do a good job writing. I mean, from day one, I've told you, hey, you need to be doing this because you're good at it and you do a good job explaining things. So make sure you guys go over there. All that being said, make sure you go check out Des's article over on rotoheat.com. We'll be sharing it out on all the socials and all that, but you should too. Got to get the word out. When good people are doing good things, you want to share that love. So with that being said, we got a lot going on in the world. Obviously, we've got schedule release that just dropped today, although it was leaking all day. I felt like every time I jumped on Twitter, a new game was leaked. I'm like, the NFL probably should just drop this thing, because everybody about knows at this point in time. But that's okay. Schedules are out, and I see that Detroit's gonna make the Super Bowl this year because they got cakewalk, right? They got Buffalo on Thanksgiving. That should be a good meal, right? And your Ravens, how you feeling about the schedule?
I actually I'm not really too mad at it. We got 3 primetime games. I'm happy that we didn't get like the whole 4 or 5. I don't know how many teams have the most. I think it was a good amount, but I mean the primetime games for sure I'm really excited about, because those are against the Bengals. We definitely owe them one. And that's going to be the first primetime game of the season. It's going to be a Sunday night game down in at the bank. So I think I'm more than likely going to be there that night. I'm definitely not going to be going to work the next day, but
Mm.
hey, it'll be all worth it. Win or lose, I'm hoping it's a win. But then we have Tom Brady and the Bucks on a Thursday night game, and I can't remember the third one, but I know we do have three night games. So I mean, primetime games.
I'll say
And
the
then
only.
just the rest of the schedules. I mean, it's pretty solid. We got a solid early season schedule, but it's kind of again like a little late in the season. We'll play like a lot of our division games and things. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was disappointed. Detroit basically the only prime time they're getting is
Yeah,
Hard Knocks, and other than that, they get. I mean, it's a bunch of 1 o'clock games. I was like,
yeah,
well,
they didn't give y'all anything.
but and an early season bye. I always hate early buys. I always feel bad for teams that got an early bye because then you're really hitting the you're hitting you need to hit that caffeine late in the year, but then I see things like the Colts where Matt Ryan's got it's like a late 13, 14 buyer. I mean, it's super late in the season. I'm like, man,
Oh
Matt
yeah,
Ryan's getting old. He's going to be tired by then.
yeah. I did see that they the Colts do have a week 14 bye because that's supposed to be is like I think 6 teams or something like that has bye. So that's supposed to be a really crazy bye week fantasy wise. Just like last year, I forgot what they call it, like
Yeah.
or apocalypse or something like that.
It could be
And that
rough
was a really crazy week because you did have a lot of guys on bye that you needed. And if anybody was going for a playoff push, that was a really crucial week. So they're doing it
Mhm.
again for us. But I think it makes everything interesting as far as fantasy dynasty wise. I don't get mad over stuff like that because you're supposed to build your teams correctly, and everybody has to go through that same thing. It's not just you. So
Right.
everybody goes through it. So like just adjust. And I think that's what it I mean, COVID has showed us how that we need to always be ready to adjust, especially in dynasty. Even that, even with dynasty, you gotta look at it sometimes like that too. So
For
on a
sure.
week in, week out, trying to build your team. So
Yeah, it was wild.
crazy.
So I'm glad that the schedule dropped. Hopefully everybody is happy with their
Yeah.
team schedule. I know the Cowboys and the Redskins have the easiest schedules, I guess, based on last year's win percentage, and the
Hmm.
Rams have the hardest. It's going to be completely different. Teams are very different this year, but it's fun. We're getting closer and closer. We are like 2 months and change away from training camps opening, so um, it'll be fun. We'll be there before we know it. The summer will breeze by, but Devy is year round. Devy does not
Yes.
end. Devy is crazy. You're always researching. You're always looking. You're always watching and working on your rankings and checking out new guys. So it's fun. But tonight I want to help. I want to kind of demystify things. So I took over an orphan team here recently, as of like 5 days ago. I took over an orphan team. We did the dispersal of the two teams draft wise, and the other guy that was doing the dispersal, just he really isn't super familiar with Devy to the extent that some of us are. And so I was trying to help, kind of encourage and talk about the value of the Devy picks based on what was there in the draft, and this, that, and the other. And it's like, okay, it kind of gave me the idea, like maybe we need to bring this back a little bit, kind of roll back the curtain and just kind of do a nuts and bolts, like, hey, this is what Devy is. This is how Devy works. These are different types of ways to manage your Devy league, and just kind of make it simple for people so that whether it's today, tomorrow, a year from now, if somebody's looking for, like a how-to when it comes to their Devy league, we can help them out. I want to start with the easy and kind of work to the crazy. So I'm in some basic Devy leagues that you have either 5, 10, 15 man Devy squads to go with your NFL, with your fantasy roster. I'm also in, the pinnacle of Devy with Shane Hallam and Travis May and a bunch of guys in the community that are hardcore. And we've been drafting Devy players for, I think it's 3 years now, and we have yet to play a game. I mean, our Devy rosters, I think we're like 2,000 Devys drafted, and no people are doing leagues like this. Like it should be. I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's insanely hard to do, but it's fun. But so I go from the gamut to that, and then you cover our C to C, our campus to can stuff. So we're going to talk about all those different types of things tonight. Hopefully it's helpful. If you guys have questions, as always, throw them in the comments, throw them in our Facebook community and Discord. We've got a ton of people that keep jumping in the Discord community. We love it. We're going to start simple though. So we're going to start with your basic Devy league. It's typically somewhere in the rounds of 20 to 30 NFL fantasy players, and then something like 5, 10, or 15 Devy players. And most of the time, and I'm going to do some show and tell here while we're doing it, Des, feel free to chime in and with any thoughts or comments you have. I know that you're more C2C than true, just kind of basic Devy, but I want to start here. So most of the time, a Devy league is either run on one of the generic fantasy platforms, Flea Flicker or whatever, or on My Fantasy League. If you run it on something other than My Fantasy League, you're probably going to use a spreadsheet to be able to keep track of all Devy players. And you'll see here, I'm the Michigan Panthers. So you'll see here, I have a Devy roster that is not completely full, but it does have Michael Mayer because I do love Michael Mayer and I love Keishawn Boutte. So those are two guys that I love, and they are always going to be on my Devy roster. But all the Devy rosters are here. The draft is done in Google Docs, or on a spreadsheet if you're an Excel, a Microsoft guy. You have your draft done on a spreadsheet, and all your picks and your trading is done on a spreadsheet. So there's a lot more manual keeping track of things. This is for those guys that maybe don't want to use MFL to keep track of all the stuff, because it can be easier or it can be trickier based on what you do. It's not easy necessarily when you use a spreadsheet, but sometimes it can be cleaner this way, so there's pros and cons to it. In here, people can trade away their Devies, but then you're using something like a chat app. We use GroupMe for this, but there's WhatsApp. I mean, you can use a text message if you wanted to, group chat, and that's how you track trades that happen. You can post Michigan traded to Orlando, X player and pick for X player and pick or whatever. It's very, very spread out, and there's a lot of moving parts to it, which means the commissioners have a little bit harder work to do. I mean, they're keeping track and making sure teams are good and picks are good and all that stuff. Then once these guys move to the NFL, then although I didn't pull up the site, but whether you're using Flea Flicker, ESPN, whatever your league is, then the commissioner goes in and moves the guys from this spreadsheet and fills them in on the roster in there, and you're good. Does that make sense, Des? Did I miss anything? Do you think
Absolutely. Nah, that's basically it, man. My experience with Devy leagues, and not to say that I'm a full C2C guy. I started off with Devy, so Devy's gonna be always there for me, especially if I ever want to just kind of relax and just go ahead and scout guys and just wait for them to come to my dynasty roster. We don't have to really worry about college production. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what I've experienced. I mean, I've have guys that we do the NFL side through Sleeper, the new up and coming app Sleeper,
I love Sleeper.
and then they have the spreadsheets. We just have some really good guys that are really into making really sweet, nice spreadsheets. I don't know how. Look, I work on spreadsheets every day. I know how to basically use Google Suite and all that. But some of the stuff that these guys be coming up with, man, I'll be blown away. Just
Travis May cracks me up with all that, man. His spreadsheets, they're amazing. Travis May. He's one of the guys in Pinnacle, and he cracks me up, man. He's
I know dude. Travis May. I'm in the league with him. Yeah, but it's crazy because they just come up with all these nice spreadsheets to kind of just have everything out there to kind of get just let you know just how the league is ran and things like that. So Devy leagues is pretty cool, man. I've always loved them. It's just a way of just identifying players a little earlier in leagues, and even if you don't play in a lot of Devy leagues, try one, because you never know what you can get from that. Because if you play in super flex or 1QB dynasty leagues, it can just help you out with your rookie drafts. You'll be that much ahead of your league mates because you know of these guys. When your league mates are out there trying to figure out which top rookies there are that's coming out in whatever year draft. You already have an idea because you played in Devy. You've seen these guys draft, whether it be on your Devy squad or not. Like you can just go off your league mates. That's how I learned. I wasn't good when I first started. I learned from league mates. I seen who they picked and why was they successful and things like that. Like who was these guys that's all coming to? Oh, so you drafted Jamar Chase and all these other guys, Najee Harris, and I'm like, who, and I'm just being funny with it, but like I knew who they are, who they were, but just if you're not familiar with these guys because you don't watch college and things like that, you just all you need is the right resources and follow your league mates initially. I mean, you may take some lumps and bruises in the beginning, but if it takes some time, it'll pan out in other leagues. If you don't want to fully dive in on Devy, I would suggest just even follow some content or be in like one league and you'll be straight for other leagues. I swear, man, because I find myself in I'm in a few Superflex Dynasty leagues that I'm currently in that I'm trying to get out of there, really, to be honest with you, because I'm just in so many Devy or C2C leagues now. But I find myself just like my league mates are like, oh man, what guys am I going to get? And I'm sitting there back like, man, if I'm telling you, you pick the wrong guy because I'm going to pick the guys that I need to pick, and my team is going to be good. So you kind of get that advantage, so it gives you some kind of comfort with that, though. But that you explained it perfectly. If you're fairly new, get in like a 3-round, 5-round Devy league startup. But then if if you feel comfortable about it, the 10-round that Devy league where you have 10 guys on your Devy roster. I mean, that's about as deep as I would go right now.
Yeah, and I would challenge, I challenge every league that I'm in to always look to make it more interesting, more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean more enjoyable like you're making it harder, but more enjoyable like you're getting owner interaction. You're making the league more challenging and causing guys to have to do more. I mean, like all that goes into making fantasy football enjoyable. I don't, whether I'm the champ of the league, which I got a few of those this year, where I'm the guy that everyone's coming after, or I'm rebuilding. Like
Nice.
I always want to make it to where it's fun for everybody and everybody has, a good time with it. So this can be a challenge, but if you've got guys in your league that are good at spreadsheet building or keeping track of things like this, this can be a very enjoyable way. Like I'm constantly in Google Docs doing stuff for work or whatnot anyway. So this is easy for me to just pop it open, see what the rosters look like, and maybe try to do some things if I want to make some trades or whatever. But if you can't do that, you can always use a platform like MFL. So you'll see here in MFL, you'll see you can add players to MFL, and they come with a little asterisk. In this is the league that I joined, and shout out to Caesar and Jacob and the guys from my large league that popped on the Monday night show. They create banners and do all sorts of great graphics and stuff, but they invited me to this Devy league.
Nice.
That was it was an orphan squad. So there were 2 squads that got, that were orphans. I said, sure, I'll pick it up. And we did a dispersal. And Craig, how dare you use my spreadsheet? I gave you props though. I said you did a good job on it, Craig. So shush. On the flip side, so we had a dispersal draft that we used Google Docs to track the picks, and we made picks, and it was just me and one guy, and we kicked out Devy squad, whether it was the players picks. I mean, you drafted all of it, so it was all available. So you had NFL players, you had Devy players, you had draft picks for the rookie draft as well as the Devy draft that we were drafting throughout it. And I'm explaining why I'm doing the things I'm doing, and then at the end, the commissioner will then go into MFL and create these players, and then I can add them to my taxi squad. And this is very similar to using the spreadsheet method that we just showed. You can have 5 or 10 or 15 guys, and it's here on your taxi squad. You can, and it's easy because then if you make a trade, you can just go through and do a normal trade like you always would in MFL, which everybody knows how to do a trade in MFL these days. And you can add your Devy players or your picks or your NFL players all in one package, and then you don't need a spreadsheet. So this is one way to do it. But again, MFL is much more costly than Sleeper, which is free, or Flea Flicker, which can be free unless you pay to remove ads. I mean, like MFL is kind of the gold standard for fantasy managers to use, but it's not always the perfect platform, depending on how you want to do it. And I think they even bumped up their fees this year, if I remember correctly. From what if I remember correctly, I could be wrong. But
I'm
this is
in my
this. Maybe not.
first. I'm in my first leagues on MFL this year.
Oh goodness, these are all my leagues.
Haven't even drafted yet. Now, mind you, I've used MFL for Scott
7.
Fishbowl,
Oh
but
yeah.
but not for any dynasty or Devy leagues. So this is gonna be a great experience. I'm really excited to see how MFL does and how I can compare it with other platforms.
Yeah, MFL is super smooth when it comes to the drafting and things like that. It's getting the updated data, getting updated like
Yeah,
if you're looking for free agents, updated ADPs and things like that. MFL doesn't always have that. So sometimes you got to dig around a little bit, but the draft itself is smooth and seamless for the manager to use.
yeah.
So I don't hate it. I just hate paying all the fees to the platform when you have something like Sleeper or Flea Flicker
Hmm.
or some of these other sites that I use, because I have leagues on all 3 of these platforms. And some people hate it. Some people want all their leagues in one site. I don't really care. I mean, I'm on all these apps anyway most days, so it doesn't matter to me. But
Yeah.
this is just another way to manage a kind of a basic Devy league. The pinnacle of Devy side of things. So I wanted to pull up this one just a little bit, not necessarily scare people, but to show another way that you can use a spreadsheet to track your league. This is the super deep, like 2,000 Devy player league that we're in. This is a little bit more broken out. You have round, team, player, high school position, potential college. Because not all these guys are in college; some are high school and whatnot.
Right.
So you can break it out and do things a little bit more in depth. You don't have to go super simple. And then, but then also know that if you're tracking every single year, eventually you're going to have a bunch of tabs on your spreadsheet. And just for the fun of it, I'm going to scroll through. These are the Devy player. These are all the master player taken list. We are down to, let's see where we're at. Almost 2,000 players taken so far.
Oh wow.
And some of these guys, are high schoolers. I know I have quite a few high schoolers on my roster. So you can use a spreadsheet to go as deep or not as you want. You can track each, draft. So on this league, because we haven't even gotten to MFL yet, we haven't imported rosters and anything. We've got, our rookie drafts, our Devy drafts, our veteran drafts, kind of all of it in one. And my Deshaun Watson pick 3 years ago doesn't look so bad anymore at the 1-3. I'm just going to say that right now. When I drafted him, it was like 1 year later, all of a sudden he was out for the year. I'm like, oh, snap. I might have wasted the 1-3. That's terrible. I'm not feeling bad anymore. But that's on the other side of things. That's all different. So, so these are your kind of your basic to your extreme when it comes to, kind of the just the generic Devy league. I do like tracking things on spreadsheets because you can do some sorting and filtering and finding players easier than you're ever going to do on something like an MFL. And with MFL, you're not going to be able to do anything with Devy players. So you're still going to, you can do your Devy draft and import them and add them onto here so that they're on your roster. But it's not like you can go looking through MFL's reports to get information about the Devy players or ADP on them because they're not in MFL yet. They won't be for, potentially 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, because they're in college still. So there's still some pros and cons with using a platform kind of as your all-in-one solution for managing it. I still think you're going to need spreadsheets in some way, shape, or form. So you're going to need them in some way. Why pay a bunch of money to a site where you can use something free? I mean, it just 2 and 1/2 does another. This comes down to what you and your league mates want to do. Do you want to spend the extra 80, 90, $100, whatever it is anymore? Or do you just want to kick that into the pot? It all depends.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on just kind of your basic Devy setup?
Well, I mean, I feel like the basic Devy setup is just like you said, like the initial like 5 rounds or things like that is pretty much the standard. I mean, I feel like any startup should be that way. That way, once you go into like the second, third year of the Devy league, you still have other Devy guys that weren't selected in the startup and things. where it just if you have, especially if you have new guys that's getting new to the league. I like just like with you. I recently, well, I won't say recently. It was last season. I picked up an orphan, and I was out, and for a while I was definitely not a big fan of picking up orphans, especially for Devy leagues, because you can jump in, and then if it's not a right group of people, uh, it, it could already be a bad thing where like it's just a bunch of the Devy guys are all on one or two or three maybe people's rosters, and you're like, oh man, what did I jump into? And then but what I liked about it is just it was something different because it was the first time I seen, because normally when you pick up an orphan, you pick up that team, and you take over the team for what it is. So a lot of times if if it's a manager that really didn't care about it, traded the picks away, and Devy played, like, you're picking up pretty much not really a good team. But they did a dispersal because it was, I guess he had three orphans, so he did a dispersal, which I thought was really interesting because it made it a little better because you can kind of create your own team with what was left, and
Hmm.
it was and then the Devy picks were in it as well. So I like at the first couple of rounds, I started noticing that, maybe I should, start jumping on some of these Devy picks because I just wanted a few, have a nice little pipeline of Devy prospects that I was really feeling good about, that could possibly get to my roster sooner, so I can have a good, a pretty solid squad. So, I think I had one of my initial picks that like I had a pretty solid like core as far as NFL wise. Like at the time I had Deshaun Watson, like you said you grabbed him up. I think I grabbed him up too. And then once I heard about that news, I traded him away so quickly. Uh but I had I still had like Derrick Henry out of this dispersal. I got Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, like just because you just have guys that just don't, just like you said, just don't kind of understand the process. So like I grabbed kind of like the top guys I wanted, and then went Devy, and then like I grabbed Travion Henderson, Kayshawn Butte, Quentin Johnston, Michael Mayer, Tyler Buckner. They were all my first. I grabbed all these guys last year. And that was like the only one I felt really crazy about is Chip Trayanum, because he's no longer a running back. He's playing linebacker for the Ohio State Buckeyes. So that's one of the things that can come into play if you pick guys that's like that, especially highly athletic guys. They may have a situation where they switch schools or switch how they doing all this transfer portal stuff now. So they may switch their positions. So that sometimes that stuff bites you in the butt, because I really like Chip. I thought he was a really good running back. So I was really surprised that he even transferred and changed his position. So maybe, I mean, they said he was a really good linebacker in high school. So we'll see. Maybe he can turn that around and maybe make something out of it and get into the league. I thought he was a really solid prospect to get in the league, to be honest with you. So for that to be my first year of the dispersal, and I ended up getting in third place in that league. So that gave me really high hopes of just be open to going into and getting an orphan too, because you never know how the league is set up. And lastly, like I really feel like the best thing about Devy leagues, you have to get, I think one of the most important parts about Devy leagues is getting with the right group of people. You have to have an invested league like that. Everybody has to be invested as far as like just interactions, trades, just everybody kind of caring about the league, because that's the only thing that makes it fun. And I think I've been lucky to just be a part of a bunch of just good Devy leagues. I found, like, now mind you, I'm in like the same leagues with the same people, so it's like I might be in two or three leagues with the same guys, but
Hmm.
they have a good core of guys, like different people coming in different leagues, and all of them been ran greatly. Everybody stays on the up and up as far as just making sure there's no collusion and things like that. And there's a lot of trash talking and things like that, but that makes you get better, and that makes you want to learn more, so you can be the guy getting the good guys and making the right trades and things. So I think getting with the right, getting a right group of 10 or 12 guys is one of the most important parts if you want to be a part of a Devy league. Just don't join any of them, because you can definitely be a part of some leagues that have some jerks.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's the tough thing when you get. I mean, I hate jerks in general. Like when it comes to fantasy,
Yeah.
period. Because I mean, even we say here at Roto Heat, we typically don't know half as much as we think we do, because
Right.
when it comes to NFL, and we're not in the front offices, we're not in the meetings, we have no clue what these teams are really thinking about their players. So projecting, predicting, assuming guys are going to be successful for a long, like we don't know. We're hopeful. I mean, and then when you back that up into college and for like, who are you to call somebody out for making a bonehead Devy move? I mean, it's not any one of us can do it at any time, and it's just the way it works. I mean,
Mhm.
for every, Trevor Lawrence, you got, 30, 40, 50, gosh, I can't even think of a bonehead quarterback right now, but Tate Martell's, for every
Right.
Trevor Lawrence, you got 100 Tate Martell's where, he's supposed to be the next big thing. And now he's retired at 24 or whatever. I
Right.
thought I read an article. He was like retired at 24 or something. I was like, and it's nothing against them. I mean, this is all predictive though. Like we're just guessing and we're hopeful, and I do want to talk about some of the platforms we use to study and prepare to help people out here as well. So we'll touch on that a little bit. But just for fun, we're gonna look at the dispersal. And I will say, anybody who's listening, if you have multiple team openings in a league, dispersal has got to be the way to go. Like that gives the
Absolutely.
guys a leg up on building their roster the way they want. And
Yep.
I loved it. I mean, I thought this was the first dispersal I've ever done. Most of the time when I
Yep.
take an orphan, there's no other owner. So I've taken an orphan and I just get their crappy squad and I got to fix it. So I do want to look at the dispersal that I did here this last week. This dispersal happened. I thought I had the date. Oh, I looked at it 4 minutes ago, so that would have been me messing with it. All right, so it happened, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday, if I remember correctly. So it was just within the last couple of days.
Hmm.
It had everything. So you get players, picks, Devies, all in a group, and then you get to pick. And it was just back and forth. And it was Snake. So he got pick 1, I got pick 2, then 3, then he got 4 and 5, and I got 6 and 7. So, I just went right down. I was like, listen, to start building the super flex squad, right? I'm just going to grab the quarterbacks. I mean, Lamar was there. Justin Fields, I like his potential upside. This year might be a little rough for him just because they didn't fix that offensive line, and they're literally signing potential starting receivers off free agency, and Dante Pettis and whoever else they signed this week. I mean, Darnell Mooney might be his best option with Cole Kmet. So maybe rough, but I like him long term. And then I grabbed Deshaun Watson as my third starting quarterback. And I mean, you can see the other owner. I mean, it was Russell Wilson and then his next quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, so I targeted
Oh
quarterback. I'm like, let
no.
me just lock this up real quick. But then I immediately started turning around and looking at young guys. And you'll see. So in this league, the first 3 rounds are rookie picks, and then rounds 4 through 8 are Devies. So I went, 1-2 rookie pick because the rookie, like Jameson Williams is still available. Kenny Pickett. I mean, there's plenty of guys available where I knew 1-2 I was getting a startable player, probably a wide receiver, I would guess. So I
Yeah.
grabbed Treylon Burks, Alvin Kamara, but then I'm immediately starting to grab Devies. I grabbed Tank Bigsby, which I thought was the best Devy on the thing. And I was going to turn around and grab Michael Mayer. Guy took him. I was like, dang, the only Devy
Yeah.
you look to draft is the one tight end that I want to make sure I get shares of everywhere. But I was like, all right, well, that's a good pick. And he's like, well, thanks. He's like, and I thought he made some sort of comment about hearing me talk about him a bunch. So
Oh, I
that's
was
one
about
of
to
the
say,
lazy
how did he know about Michael Mayer?
episodes.
Because that's like you're not pulling that out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I could see
I've been
Tank
talking about him
Bigsby and
for
some
at
other
least a year
Devy
now.
guys, but you're not.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows about no Michael Mayer. Just to be like, that's his first Devy pick. That's his first.
Yeah. His first Devy pick. And I
Yeah.
think it's his only until super late. Now, actually, his only Devy pick.
Yeah. He heard
So
somebody say that name.
I basically was scooping up the rest. So I grabbed Donovan Edwards. I'm a Michigan guy. I knew I was going to have Donovan Edwards on my squad. And then, and I sprinkle it in with other things. So then I immediately go get the highest Devy pick that's available. So I grabbed the 2 first rounders that are rookie picks. And then I immediately grab Devy picks, so I can draft in the Devy. And Ja'Cory Brooks, Emeka Bega, Ibuka, and then Marvin Mims. I was like, I like those receivers. So I wanted to target them. And I didn't know, we're kind of chopping it up in the chat while we're doing the draft, and I'm commenting on his picks and saying, great job. We're just kind of chit-chatting or whatever. So I didn't know if he was going to start looking at Devies at some point. And I was like, well, I'll try to make sure I grab the ones I like. And then all of them are just kind of sitting there still. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll grab these guys that I'm not super excited about, like Brock Vandegrift in Georgia I like, but
Yeah.
he may not be the starter still this year. You know, he's got Carson, whatever his name is, who's competing against. You know, Phil Jerkovic is Boston's guy, who I thought might come out in the draft this year. And if he came out in the draft this year, I was like, oh, I like him better in this draft. Next year's draft, I don't know if I like him that well. You know, and grabbed Aaron Gray. You know, because that was the only other Devy left. So I'm grabbing all the Devys and things like that. But I love the idea of the dispersal draft because I mean you're building your team, you know. So I don't love a lot of the picks at the back half. I mean, guys that probably won't be on my roster as soon as we get this rookie draft over with and the Devy draft, so I can dump them. But you know, I thought it was a blast. I was like,
Yeah,
this is cool, man. Like I was a fan of
yeah,
it. So and I
me
came out
too.
with my favorite Devys. I mean, at least the ones that they had available, minus Michael Mayer. I was super excited
Yeah,
to grab Tank Bigsby. I'm a huge Bigsby fan. So
I mean,
that's all
you
I'm
look
saying
like
about
you have
that.
a solid squad, man. Yeah, you
For
look
what
like
was
you have a solid
available.
squad. To be honest with you, yeah, because I mean, you have Lamar. I mean, you have Justin Fields, Deshaun. I mean, those are three really good quarterbacks to start off with, and then, I mean, you
As long
have
as Kamara doesn't
Burks
get in
come out.
trouble.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with him. But like I mean, those are still like he still is a good, valuable piece. I
Mhm.
mean, even if you want to put him in some trades or anything like that. I mean, you have some good trade pieces up there just in case if you want to kind of build your squad and get more other pieces for maybe the next draft or trading for some other Devy players on other rosters. So
Oh yeah,
I
no,
mean, it looks
it's
like you got good one there.
I aim for the youngest quarterbacks I can get because I figured
Yeah.
that it's probably going to be a rebuild. It's not necessarily so I need these guys to survive for another 2, 3, 4 years, and all these guys will be fine. So
Yeah. Well, I was in a rookie draft. The first and only rookie draft I've done so far this year on just a regular dynasty league, and I just traded a 2023 first for Justin Fields. So that's how I
that's
feel about
awesome.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how I
I
feel
like
about that.
Justin.
Because I had three. I was in a situation where I need another quarterback because I already had Kyler Murray. I didn't really have any picks in this draft because I really pretty much traded them away. I even still got a good third and fourth round. I still had third and fourth round pick, but I really traded away this draft. But I will really went into the 2023 draft, so I still have three other picks. So I ended up trading that away to get Justin Fields. So I'm with you with Justin Fields. I've been investing. I've been trying to invest in him a good amount just because a lot of people are down because they didn't feel like they did enough in the draft and whatever anybody's feeling on it. I mean, it's justified. I'm not going to argue with anybody that says they didn't or they did. So what I will say is Justin Fields is a very good football player. So I'm willing to bet on the talent. And right now I'm willing to take the dip. If you want to be getting scared about Justin Fields, let me get him, please. Because I feel like that's a good solid QB2, especially if you have a locked in QB1 for sure.
Well, I mean, really, the only thing you can't predict is the injury side of things. Like the
Yeah.
talent's there, we've seen it. So, you know, I don't worry too much about this year for a guy like that. I'm just gonna sit on him, wait, see what happens, and with this roster, I wanted to grab the young quarterbacks because I was pretty sure I wasn't gonna win the ship this year just based on what my team looks like right now, unless I can make some really good trades to take pieces that aging Kamara or Brandon Coach or some of these guys and maybe flip them into something different or package of something different that maybe pops off. I don't know. I,
Mhm.
I was going for best player or best talent or best Devy, and then kind of going from there. So
That's how you
uh
do
so
it.
yeah, so we'll see what happens with it. It was fun. I definitely, like I said, if you can do a dispersal, I would challenge every ownership in leagues that have multiple owners open to do that because that was very enjoyable and encouraging to a guy who's taken over our team. I definitely had fun with it.
Yeah.
Before we get to the Campus to Canton League, I want to talk a little bit about some of the tools and some of the platforms we go to research and prepare and look at. Now, obviously, Twitter is a big place. There's a lot of guys that post little clips of players and talk about players. And you can do things like that. We both follow guys and Devy on Twitter and kind of listen to their takes. I also in our team chat, that the Devy team chat that we have with Des, Jason, I popped in there and I made a bookmark of sites that I use that I knew they probably did too, so that these are places that I go when I'm looking for players, when I'm trying to begin prepping. Now, obviously, high school as well. Max Preps is high school focused, but I use PFF College. I pay for PFF College subscription. 247, is an amazing site for just kind of gaining the stars, or rivals, whichever one you like. I use both just because they both, kind of look at things a little differently.
Yeah.
Then Huddle can get you high school footage as well if you need to look back that far. And then on3.com is a newer site that I hadn't been using all that much until probably last summer, maybe, I think, is when I really started digging into it a little bit more. So these are the sites that I use a bunch of. I know Des uses a bunch. Is there
Yeah.
any other tools that you use or sites that you're a fan of or whatever?
I mean, just the main sites, I guess, as far as with Devy stuff, yeah, for sure is the ones you posted there. You got the on three. I think I'm like you. I just literally started jumping on their site or app as of last year, and they have a different kind of way of um doing their rankings, and of course, yeah,
Mhm.
24/7 and max preps or whatever. If you want to kind of be jumping on like the early guys. And then just like you said, the PFF, you can't go wrong with them. They have a million resources on that site. I mean, you may have to pay for some stuff, but I mean, they give
Mhm.
you everything. Whether you're just a regular, I just want to read information. If you're doing content, they got all the metric scores and things like that to help you build your articles and stuff. So that's probably one of the top ones. And I use DLF too. I like Dynasty League Football. I like their
Mhm.
site. They're pretty dope. Just to have it. And then of course I like the up and coming guys. You got the Campus to Canton crew. They have a lot of good stuff on their site as far as just a lot of the metrics and things like that when it comes to um looking at prospects. And more or less is really, if you're looking for anything like online, those are the places I pretty much use. And of course, I'm part of Brandon Lejeune's own his little community and things like that. So he has some things, if you join these Slack channels and Discords and Patreons, uh, those are good resources as well.
Absolutely. And and in my mind, some of the best ways to grow your knowledge base is just to talk and to
Yep.
understand and get to know guys that have done it for longer or have been doing it for longer and that have been there so that you can kind of get and pick their brain,
Yep.
because most of us in the Devy community, at least that I talk to, super easy to talk to and just want
Absolutely.
to have fun and chat. They aren't jerks about it. I love talking to Travis, talking to Shane, talking to the guys in the Pinnacle League that I talk to. Obviously us. There's quite a few guys on Twitter that will message back and talk back. And
Yeah.
I try to talk to anybody who messages me. I'm very open to anybody who wants to talk. If you reach out to me and you want to chat, I will absolutely talk back. Because
Yeah.
I'm a nobody in the community. I'm just a guy that likes football and likes to
Absolutely.
help people, and I win. I win
I'm
stuff
the
too.
same
So.
way. I think the Devi community is one of the most welcoming communities that I've ever been a part of. I like I say I gravitated into a lot of this online stuff, of course, with the pandemic. So sitting at home all day, every day, you start, finding new things and just diving down these little wormholes and stuff. But
Mhm.
I ended up finding a great place to be able to talk football and things like that. And then when you reach out to these people, because like I've never been like, because I don't know, like if I don't know you in real life, like a lot of times I'm really to myself. I'm not one venturing out to kind of be doing that stuff. But when you jump in these leagues, you're paying your money and things like that. You got to get this information, and sitting around thinking that you could just gonna be able to read these things or read whatever stuff that's out there. That's if you can find it. You got to go in these forums and these chats and stuff like that, and you got to definitely chime in, start asking questions, so hit people in their DMs. A lot of people don't get mad over that. They more get excited that somebody's jumping in their DMs to ask them about a ranking or something like that. So I think it's more welcoming than to feel like somebody's gonna get on you because you're asking the dumb question.
And and typically when it comes to this stuff, um, some people will say there is no dumb question. I would say there isn't a question. A poorly worded question can sometimes come across as dumb, but typically there's no dumb question in this type of community and conversation, because we don't know. When you're looking, a guy may pass the eye test, but then when he gets to you know the metric side of things, I mean, you start to see the Kyle Hamilton stuff come up where, he's not running as fast or whatnot. I mean, so you need to talk to people that have been doing this, that understand, kind of what metrics play into the overall prospect, what the game film plays into the overall prospect, and how all that comes together to give you their profile for whether or not you want to draft this guy into your fantasy roster. I mean, you need people that understand that and can help you think about it a different way. And that's why you got to ask questions. And I want to, as we shift to this last part of the show, the floor is going to be yours. So, you're big into campus to Canton. Now, obviously, I've never done a campus to Canton league. I decided to just go to the extreme and go pinnacle where we're drafting high schoolers. But talk about what you love about campus to Canton, and then kind of how it works. What platforms you use, how you track things, things like that. So I'll give you the floor, and then you go from there, and we'll just kind of see what happens.
Yeah. Um, cool, man. But yeah, the campus to Canton leagues is something I found out about maybe about a year or so ago. I heard about them maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago, really. Right when the college football kind of, you was hearing about them wanting to, in real life start playing football again from all the COVID stuff and things. And I was into like Devy really heavy at that time, where I had a couple Devy leagues, and I thought that was pretty cool. Where it's like, okay, you just draft guys and they, sit on these rosters, for a few years or whatever the case may be. Then they get moved to your NFL roster or whatever. And then as somebody told me about campus to Canton, I'm like, wait a minute, you have an NCAA team or college team, and you have an NFL team, and then those guys go from your college team to your pro team. I was like, wow, what is this? And after it got broken down, where it's like, you have like 45-man rosters, and it's like the drafts are pretty long, because it's definitely slow clock and things like that. But what I really liked about it is just you had an option of you were playing the college side and an NFL side.
And now, do they
So
score the same?
so it all depends on how the league is set up. So for the most part, most of them are pretty similar. So you have the half point or full point PPR. You'll have the tight end premium. I think most of the ones I'm in, the college side, you have you have to start two quarterbacks. So it's not like a super flex. So it's like a two quarterback dynasty. And you draft the college players. Of course, there's always a different kind of strategy with that, because when you draft in, especially on the college side, you have initially you go into maybe grabbing a lot more of the Devy guys initially. So of course the Bijan Robinsons and Keyshawn Bouttes and Jackson Smith and Jigbas of the world, they're going to be the ones that you're going to get initially, because they're the ones you think that's gonna, if they're not going to be high producers in college, then you think that they're very good pro prospects or whatever the case may be. Because there's a lot of guys that produce a whole lot more points in college, where I could say that don't make it to the league, or if they do make it to the league, you never hear of them. Just because those are like the undrafted free agents, or like the fourth, fifth round, sixth round picks and things like that. So it's a lot of those guys if you're not really into it, you wouldn't really know about them. But you just have you have a team on both sides, and it's a way you get points, just as similar as if you were playing just the NFL roster and you play. These are done on fan tracks. If anybody's familiar with fan tracks, that's all we use that for the college side and for the draft. You can also use spreadsheets, because I know before fan tracks was back up due to the COVID stuff, a lot of the spreadsheets were used. So you would, whoever was really good at spreadsheets put one together and had all the players in there, and you would do drop down boxes and select your player. They would disappear and show up on a grid and things like it's really, really, really nice. So it's just a way how you want to do it. I mean, I know a lot of times my strategy is going Devy heavy early, and then around like I don't know, sixth, seventh, and on fourth, I'm starting to try to look to see if any Devy guys slip through. But I'm really trying to start getting more of the high production guys. That's for more college fantasy football production. Um, It all depends on how the league is set up too. Like most of the leagues I've been in is we've drafted maybe 35 to maybe 40 rounds on the college side. So that gets a little intense once you get to like round 25, 30. I mean, you start
You
like,
start drafting Jackson State players, and
yeah, you don't.
yeah,
You
yeah,
really
yeah.
like if you're not. You have some that they have some extensive lists, and I'm a little jealous of them because I can't say that what I like this league a lot. But what you don't to be successful though, you don't have to be the super thorough manager though. Like I learned that too. You have a lot of guys that they know a million players, but then when it's time to draft and when it's time to make these trades and things like that, they still got to make their picks in a lot of time. Like I mean, for me to be in camp in the C2C league last year, and four of the leagues I was in three of them I was super competitive. I lost in the semifinals of all three last year, and I'm not one of those guys that say I know a whole bunch of guys. I just like I said, I found certain platforms that I trust with their content and analysis. I use that along with the discords and things like that to get some information on guys. But I can also say I don't know a lot of them, but you get better with it. And then of course the next year you have the supplemental drafts and you have drafts on both sides. So it's a whole different strategy when it comes to that. And then you can get it even deeper with that. And I mean, I really don't have time to really talk about that tonight, but I mean, no, seriously, because I'm in one of the best C2C leagues I can honestly say that I've ever been in my life. It's called, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called The Program. Matt
Sounds
Bruning,
familiar.
and
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and the guy and Gary Price and all the guys from Devy Nerds and Dynasty Nerds. I'm sorry. They created a very interesting league where it's a C2C league, but you do so instead of you initially like you do draft like you do the normal drafts like your rookie draft in the NFL and your supplemental draft in college, but the difference of this is they have a whole recruiting element to this. So the different place. So like you, how you're saying in the pinnacle of Devy, where you guys are drafting like high school guys, like you kind of start recruiting the high school guys pretty early, and you kind of start put recruiting points and things like that on them. And depending on how good your team is, you have them come through for like recruiting visits, and then they have like a weekly show of it's crazy. So and they have like a weekly show of where like if every week depending on how many points you have and like the coaching scheme and like the prestige of your college, it's like so intense. And they do a
so they're
show
doing
where
they're doing NCAA football, but
yes,
in fantasy.
that's what it is. I was about to say it's NCAA football 14. Is that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. And they do the recruiting show, and then you get to see what recruits that either signed on with you or stand put, and they have recruits flipping, and they have that whole NIL stuff incorporated in it this year. So it's really insane. So I'm in conference 4. I will definitely keep y'all updated on that because the NCAA draft is actually starting tomorrow. I got the number 1 pick, and I'm letting y'all know it's Bijan Robinson. Flat out.
Attaboy.
But yeah, it's a
Go
really
get them.
insane league, man, and that gets me so excited to be about a part of this, and just Devy leagues, C2C leagues. You meet so many cool people and people creating leagues and stuff like this. It's just amazing the thought process and ideas that people have to come up with stuff like this. I'm fascinated over stuff like this. So these things is so easy to be a part of, especially when it's ran right and you have some good commissions. So
Yeah. Well, that's the hardest thing, and that's why you've seen so many leagues collapse kind of post COVID. Is either they're not run well, or there's just not a lot of involvement, or I mean, one of my biggest things, and this is why I'm careful on what leagues I jump into is I'm like I want every single owner active.
yeah,
It's not that for the longest time I'd hear guys complain, "Oh, I got this, I got that, I got jobs and kids and this and that." Yeah, we do. Every single one of us got a life, but you can take 5 minutes out of your day to respond to a message or a DM about a trade, or like it's not that hard to take a few seconds to just say, "Hey, I'm busy. I'll look at it at this time, or I'll look at it." Like, and that's the thing that drives me nuts in fantasy leagues. Like, if you can't give me the common courtesy, to just shoot a message back, say, "Hey, I see it. I will get back to you." I'm not ghosting you because once you do that, once you start ghosting, then I'm done trading with you. Like you drive me crazy, and I won't even mess with you. I'll just look to the guys that I know will make moves, and and that's where I think especially in these league types, you know that you're going to get guys that are more, I don't want to say hardcore, but just more, involved and connected
Yeah.
because there's so much more to it. So that's why I love, deeper leagues, whether it's IDP, Devy, I mean, even Superflex T, premium, stuff like that. Like just not your basic fantasy league, because those basic leagues people can get tired of and move on from quickly. So
Yeah.
you start adding on more to it, then it gets people bought in more. And that's what I want, is people that are bought in, that are having fun, that are just, kind of getting crazy with it like we do. So there's that.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's it. I mean, we got a couple minutes left, but we're gonna wrap it up by saying this gives you a nice kind of full picture of the different types of Devy leagues. There is obviously always something that isn't mentioned, because there's always a variety of different league formats and styles. I mean, obviously tonight you've heard about the program, you've heard about Pinnacle of Devy, you've heard about Basic Devy, you've heard, these are just types of leagues that people can get into. Doesn't necessarily mean this is it. There are plenty others. What I will say is if you're trying to either become a part of a Devy league or start up something of your own, Des and I are more than happy to answer questions and help you figure things out and
Yeah.
talk it through. Hit us up. I mean, our Twitter handles are always here. If you're watching our YouTube channel, we are more than willing to chop it up with you and help you figure things out. Discord, if you go to rotoheat.com, there's a link. It'll pop up as soon as you get to the site and show you how to get to our Discord. We got a Devy chat in there that you can become a part of. And there's so many different communities that do that. I know I'm part of the Devy Marketplace Discord community, and they
Yeah.
have their own Discord community where you can go in there and chit chat and talk to other guys that are like this. So there's a lot of
I
places
love
for
that
you to meet
community.
people. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't chat a lot in there, but I'm typically watching it, and I listen to their podcasts. I try to any of the guys in the community that I like, that I appreciate or respect their stuff, I try to listen every week to the different podcasts and show my support as best I can, because just like I'm trying to do the same thing as them. I'm just trying to start this thing up and help people get more knowledgeable at fantasy football, but also enjoy it and have fun with it. And that's what at RotoHeat, that's what we do. That's what's gotten us to this point, is we've cared about our people, we've been welcoming, we've been respectful and open and honest.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we do. I mean, that's kind of our MO is we ain't gonna treat you bad, because we've all been parts of fantasy communities with guys that are jerks, and I don't like it. And that's why we started our own. We're like, listen, we're just gonna do it ourselves. And it's working. I mean, I think the Discord chat is only a few hundred, and it's growing, and I know the Facebook community is thousands.
Oh, wow.
I know YouTube's thousands. We've got lots of YouTube folks, and we love it. Obviously last week I shouted out Action Jackson. That dude checks our stuff out on the weekly, and I love that. I know that guys like that are going to check it out and give us opinions and give us thoughts and just comment, and talk with us, because I know that people care, and I know that we're helping, at least in some way, shape, or form. So that's it this week. I know we are going to work on doing some mock drafts so that you can kind of see how it plays out. See who we'd be picking at the different picks. I know Des, Jason, and we're talking through it in the chat, so that'll be coming up here within the next few weeks, and maybe next week. But I'm out for a couple of days early in the week, so we'll see. So that'll be coming. We're going to keep talking Devy stuff, and we'll get you guys more information. But if you guys always want, rotoheat.com's got our rankings, got our articles. Des has been working more on Devy right now, just because the way our writers are right now. I've been working on IDP and rookie offense and all sorts of different other articles. So check back, because I will do some team write-ups and some different things that kind of piqued my interest over the summer. So, and Des is going to keep sending you guys some great articles on the Devy side as well. So,
yep.
I think that's it, man. Thanks, Des, as always, dude. I love talking with you. We always have a good time on here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Always a good time.
All right. So we thank you guys as always for hanging out with us in the chat and hanging out and watching with us. As always, like, subscribe to the notification icon. Leave a rating and review if you'd be so kind. We do appreciate that as well. Or I should say the algorithms do. I mean, I do. But, you telling iTunes and Spotify and all that you care. So we love you guys. We'll talk to you next week. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you.